Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Lizzie Plain. I am the Channel Marketing Manager here over at Perfecto. This morning, we are launching our very first Tech Talk, so we're very honored for you to be here. This is going to be a bi-weekly series of webinars presented mainly by our Partner Enablement Manager, David Broerman, here on the line today. Hopefully from these webinars, we'll be able to not only inform you on a little bit of Perfecto and Perfecto's products, but also how to take the technology and apply it into your jobs. So with that, let me go ahead and introduce David. David, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
All right, great. Thanks very much, Lizzie. Again, welcome everyone. Thanks for taking a few minutes today to get to know a little bit more about Perfecto. Again, my name is David Broerman. I'm the Partner Enablement Manager at Perfecto. Just a quick background about me. I've been with Perfecto about a year and a half. Before that, I actually worked in QA and testing for about the last 15 or so years. So I'm really excited to be here and talk to you a little bit about Perfecto today. So what are we going to talk about? A few things, introduction to Perfecto, just, who is Perfecto? What do we do? Just some digital challenges out in the marketplace. What are we seeing in the marketplace, maybe some of the challenges that you might be facing as well in your daily life. We're going to understand a little bit more about the Perfecto CQ Lab. So what does Continuous Quality Lab mean? How can you use it to work better with your customers and work better with Perfecto? We're going to look at the basic architecture and setup. What does the Perfecto Continuous Quality Lab look like? I'm going to show you some snapshots of inside of one of our data centers and what does it actually look like when it's all hooked up. I'm going to have a couple snapshots of look and feel, just a little bit about the Perfecto solution, just from the manual and automated perspective, just so you can see what it looks like. We have a lot of new folks that have come on board from the partner side, so just trying to give you a little bit of background and information about Perfecto and the solution. And then we'll take a few minutes at the end to do a quick Q&A to make sure all your questions are answered. And at the end, I'll have my contact information back up there again so you can contact us if you have any additional questions or needs. All right, so just a little bit about Perfecto. So Perfecto gives a continuous quality lab that's cloud-based, and that's going to be very important. And as we go through the information today, you're going to understand a little bit more why cloud-based is so important. And that cloud-based continuous quality lab is going to allow you to use real devices with real end-user conditions, which, again, we'll talk a little bit more about, to help you with testing and monitoring of digital platforms. So being able to go kind of a one-stop shop for not only your mobile devices, but for your desktops and things like that, and to be able to do that in the cloud is going to be very important. Let's talk a little bit about who is Perfecto. Perfecto has been around since approximately 2006. And the reason why that's kind of interesting is that was a year before the iPhone was actually even introduced. So Perfecto has been around and a leader in the space for quite a long time, located near the Boston area. Right now we have a little over 300 employees globally. Most of our base is Fortune 500 customers, partners like you guys. And really our goal is to be successful with not only our partners, but customers that we work with to just deliver a great enterprise digital experience for that 5-star application and that great digital experience. So don't just take it from me that we're a leader in the digital space. Recently, Forrester came out with their 2016 Wave report. And what you'll notice is up in the upper right-hand quadrant are the two leaders really in the space, Perfecto Mobile Us and Dynatrace, which you may also know as KDA or Device Anywhere. If you look kind of down the left-hand side, as you go up the chart, the current offering, that's going to be from weak to strong. So the closer you are to the top, the stronger that you are from your offering. You can see Perfecto Mobile is at the top there. And at the bottom, going from left to right, you'll see the strategy. So the closer to the right-hand side you are, the better on your strategy. So you can see that Perfecto Mobile has a strong strategy, a current offering. And then the bigger that your little circle is there, the larger your market presence. So we actually have the largest market presence around the digital space and mobile. So Perfecto Mobile is definitely a great choice to be working with. A couple of quotes here from Forrester, basically saying that Perfecto has the strongest offering in the market. A couple things that we offer, Wind Tunnel, which we'll talk a little bit more about, is really using the real-world experience that a customer might use on a digital platform, and being able to do the testing with, tools like Appium, Selenium, some of the open source things out in the marketplace, and having that flexibility to kind of use the tools that you need to use. The other thing is, I mentioned before, is cloud is important. So cloud vendors lead the pack. So you'll notice that with Perfecto Mobile and KDE Dynatrace that we are both cloud vendors. So that's very important. And the reason why is, as the market changes so quickly and you need to add new devices and operating systems, things like that, it's really difficult to do these on-premise type of solutions. So cloud solutions and cloud vendors lead the pack, and that's definitely an important piece to remember. So let's take a little look into kind of the digital landscape, things that are going on. So it's really important when you think about the digital experience to drill down into details and figure out what's important, not only from your guys' perspective being a partner, but from a customer's perspective. What's important and what's motivating them for success. So you'll notice a couple items here around, so take the first one at the top, faster time to market. You've probably experienced that, everyone wants to go faster, everyone wants to accelerate, get that application out to their customer, or you want to be able to go faster with your customer to help them get where they're going. All right, that's definitely going to be a piece for success. How about lower defects being escaped, higher quality, right? The app stores out there, customers are looking for high-quality apps, and you're looking to help them do that. And so Perfecto is looking to partner not only with you and customers to get that higher quality app, that 5-star app rating, and to get lower escape defects. And we can definitely help do that, and we'll talk about that as we go. Lower user experience or risk in production, right? So once the code or the functionality goes to production, you definitely want to be able to lower that risk and make sure that there's no defect, that there's not any issues with what's being released. So it makes you guys look good, makes the customer look good, and makes them happy with their application or whatever they're working on. Lower cost, everyone's always looking to lower cost, or how do I save money? That's definitely something that Perfecto can help with as well. And then business agility, so being flexible. Maybe new changes need to come out in the market, or there's different competitions that are going on that they need to, again, be very flexible, being agile to be able to get new things out to market very quickly. So these are some of the motivations for success that we see not only with partners but with our customers as well, and Perfecto can definitely help with that. So there are some challenges around the digital market and testing and quality and things like that we were just talking about, especially around testing teams. So think about being a testing team and working on digital platforms and things like that, and having to have separate tools for web and for your mobile devices and different labs and things like that. And obviously the challenges around that is you have different skill sets possibly for, mobile apps and for the digital side, and you have to use different tools for testing desktops versus mobile. So it takes a lot of investment, not only in people, but processes and technology, and it's something that you want to eliminate. And with Perfecto, you can do everything in one digital lab, which we'll talk about. You also want to have timely access to those lab resources, right? So when you need a device or you need a desktop or you have to get information from various locations around the world or people that you're working with, you want to have access to those devices. And Perfecto has the ability to, from that cloud-based platform, is to have a 99.95% uprate in those devices, so that when you need those devices or you need those desktops to do your testing or do your work, they are definitely available. And then finally, around visibility to user experience, being able to test on all the latest browsers, devices, or even older types of devices and operating systems is going to be important, right? If you don't have the ability to test across devices to understand what apps are doing, what your customers are seeing, what they need, you're not going to have very much oversight around quality and being able to understand root cause analysis across different devices. And Perfecto Mobile can provide the latest and greatest of devices even 0-day device availability, meaning as soon as the devices come out, we have them up and running in the cloud, and you're able to do testing on them, not having to wait for a month or two until someone gets it in their cloud or gets it on-prem. Let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges around dev tests and application testing and things like that. So it seems like everyone's trying to transform, into a dev test practice or, working closer together and the shift left, and it's been going on for quite a while. However, it's not really that easy. Most enterprises, partners, everyone that we see out there is trying to do this and figure out how to better transform and build their apps, faster and higher quality and things like that. And it's not that you can just take waterfall, SDLC, and methodologies and just try to go faster, right? It's just not that easy to do. You can't just say, all right, we're just going to, shave a couple days off time and now we're agile, things like that, right? You can't really necessarily do your manual testing just faster. You can't really shrink the timeline. In many cases, as you add more functionality, you've got more manual testing, and you really need to be able to automate to go faster and things like that. And, as you do that testing, you're not necessarily going to be able to necessarily find all those defects by, shortening the testing time and not being able to cover everything. So, it's really difficult to kind of implement that agile methodologies and DevOps practices. If you look at the other side, DevOps and agile is easier said than done. That's correct. It's not just, like I said, shaving down the time or working a little bit closer together. It's, you've got to have that lab that's available. You've got to have the devices and the coverage across the entire digital platform. You need to be able to do real end-user conditions, and that's not easy to do. And I'm going to talk about what some of those end-user conditions are here in a second, right? So these are the types of challenges that we're facing in testing, QA, dev, to be able to get those 5-star applications out to our customers. So it's really important that we are able to have a lab and have access to these devices and desktops and things to be able to try out end-user conditions, right? So mobile is just so much different from, the web testing. So if you think about user conditions, right, and being a member of a quality team or your dev, things like that, is you've got to be able to look beyond just simple functional testing. Right, simple functional testing just isn't enough anymore. You've got to be able to incorporate real end-user conditions, right? So think of it as like a day in the life of your favorite application, right? You're using your mobile app. Step one here, you're using it at your house. You've got Wi-Fi, and maybe you've got a great connection at home. As soon as you leave, you're headed out to work or whatever. You've got maybe degraded conditions. You're on a 3G network, and maybe then you're on 4G, and then you stop at Starbucks and you have Wi-Fi. That's all going to change kind of how the user experience is, how that app and how that device is working. Number 3, you've got varied device conditions, so low battery or things interference on that. You've also got different device profiles. So you might be on you're on your phone, and then you might be on your tablet, and you get to work, and you're on a laptop or a desktop, things like that. So there's all kinds of different pieces that go with that. And then number 5, location. So if you're in different locations, again, that can change what you're receiving, what you're doing. Maybe you've got a location-based type of application that you need to test. You put in your zip code or your country where you live, and that's going to change how the app works. And then resource conflicts. You may have different resources or apps running in the background. You might have Instagram running, and maybe you're trying to take a selfie or something, and it's not, releasing the camera or things like that. So you've got to be able to test for those types of conditions to understand how the user has experienced the app or whatever it is you're working on. And then being able to interact with the sensors and the device itself, not just being stuck at the application with the application only and not being able to test the other apps with it. And then finally, peak time, load, and performance type of testing, different types of, how does that impact your app or your user experience. So these are the types of things that Perfecto can actually help with. We have what's called wind tunnels to help with those real end user conditions. And as part of Perfecto setup and the solution, you're able to take advantage of that to, be able to test your customer's application and give them those 5-star apps. Let's take a look at some of the strengths and differentiators that we have as far as the Perfecto Continuous Quality Lab. All right. So if you look at the left-hand side, enterprise grade, so we offer what we call an enterprise-grade continuous quality lab that you have access to these devices 24/7. It's a stable connection. You just open your browser and you're able to get to these devices. We have device SLAs, as I mentioned, with 99.95% uptime availability. Secure, we have VPN and different types of encryption that allows all your data and things to stay secure, so you don't have to worry about that. We have 14 global data centers, so you can see under global and collaborative. 14 global data centers around the world. We have them in India, China, Latin America, North America, Europe, even one in Australia now. So you can share those devices and be able to do real end-user testing on real mobile devices wherever you want, onshore, offshore, whatever you need. From a hybrid perspective, we can do devices either in the cloud. We can actually do them on-premise as well, or a combination of that. I know a lot of our partners host their own clouds as well as part of the Perfecto solution. There's a number of different types of things that we can do. If you look at the right-hand side, real end-user conditions, I just talked about real devices, real networks. So if you have a specific network in your own country or where you're located, we can have devices that are hooked up to those carriers and things like that to be able to do actual real-world conditions. And then we just talked about the wind funnel. One of the most important things, I think, from a Perfecto solution and from what you guys probably do on a daily basis is open and integrated. Being able to take that Perfecto solution and be able to use it with your favorite tool. And that can be, testing frameworks and IDEs and different things around testing and making your life easier. So we work with Selenium and Appium. We actually have a Selenium and Appium server built right into Perfecto that I'll talk about here in a minute. If you're using Visual Studio or Eclipse and Jenkins for CI, and we can really, with any language and framework that you want to use, so C# or Perl or PHP or Ruby or whatever it is you're working on, Java, we can handle that. So the main thing is being open and integrated, being able to use the tools that you're comfortable with or that your customers are comfortable with, and not having to use some proprietary IDE or framework that we say you have to use. You're able to kind of use whatever you need. And then finally, down the bottom right, Elastic, being able to have hundreds, and we actually have thousands of devices in our data centers on demand when needed. 24/7, whenever you need them, they're available for you. So kind of piggybacking on what I was just talking about with the digital era, being able to do multiple types of testing. So if you look at the bottom piece, one lab for all digital platforms, and that's kind of where Perfecto stands out from the competition, is being able to use that one lab for your wearables, for your desktops, your various mobile types of devices, testing on the various browsers and things like that, and being able to do this all in one lab. Talked about, at the beginning, saying, if you've got different skill sets and different tools that you're using for, desktop versus mobile, it gets to be so much and so overwhelming. And that's kind of where we try to package everything together so you're able to do everything from one lab for all your platforms. User conditions, again, simple functional testing isn't enough. So being able to take those user conditions and those real-world conditions to better understand how does that application impact the user experience? How do they see it on the device itself? And unless you have a real device with real end-user conditions, you're not going to know how that application or how that device is going to perform in the real world. You just can't get the same results with simulators and emulators. It's not possible. Perfecto can help you with functional testing, as we talked about, performance testing, looking at quality in production, meaning we have a monitoring solution that allows you to run transactions against real devices and then measure, how long it takes the page to load and how is the application performing and things like that on a real device. And then from a customer support perspective, we have 24/7 customer support, and I'll talk in a minute about our network operations center and kind of what goes on behind the scenes. And then kind of overarching all of that at the top there is the continuous quality reporting. So we have a number of different reports that you get out depending on where you're at in the SDLC, from coding all the way through production. You're going to be able to get reports that have screenshots and step-by-step, pass and fail, what actually happened during your test and things like that. So you can get that root cause and get that up front so that you can work with development or your teams to get those things fixed and get those 5-star apps out the door very quickly. And then over on the left, as we mentioned, various environments, IDEs, whatever testing tools you want to use, continuous integration, testing frameworks and IDEs, it's up to you. We work with whatever it is that you work with. So we talked about manual testing, definitely going to be important, right? You're still going to have manual test cases, so you're going to be able to use those devices and desktop browsers to do manual testing still. You're going to be able to do test automation. So whether it's the built-in Perfecto test automation, that's using, Eclipse and Appium and Selenium, it's using, Quick Test Pro or UFT, you're using Visual Studio, whatever it is that you want to use, we're going to be there for you. And application monitoring, as I just mentioned, to be able to understand, what's going on with that application, if something's, loading slow or a page isn't available, running those transactions 24/7 on real devices is the key. So we also, with having those pieces, we also have various plugins for PTP and Visual Studio and all those to make it easy to integrate with Perfecto. We have an open REST API if you have other capabilities or need your customer wants some extensibility around that. I talked about the test reports and things like that. So again, we're very flexible on how we put this together. If you host it, we host it. It's on-prem for you, for your customers. So as far as security, we have a full-time CISO that can talk to you about security if your customers have questions about that or you have questions about that. And really, the overriding thing here is being able to have distributed teams all over the world, wherever you are, and to be able to collaborate and get these applications and things done in a timely manner with high quality. All right, and these are just a few of the certifications and things around the security of our product. Talked about the 99.95% availability SLA. We have a 24/7 NOC center, so I'll show you a picture of that. The network operations are always monitoring devices and what's going on for connectivity and things like that. I mentioned the encryption, the CISO, firewalls, all that is going to be part of the package for you as a partner or for customers. And then we also offer the VPN and single sign-on if that's important as well. All right, so let's take a few minutes to understand kind of the basic architecture, how it's set up, a look and feel, just so you get a better idea, if you haven't seen it, what it actually looks like. So this continuous quality lab as a service, we actually have these in these racks. So you can kind of see down at the bottom right, you see a rack with device docking module, DDM, HSS, MCM. So I'm going to explain kind of what that is and how they fit together so you get a better idea. So I'm talking about like device connectivity. So that mobile device, all the way from when you open it in your browser to control it, click on it, swipe, open applications, whatever it is you're going to do on the device, all the way from the browser that you see all the way to the handset server, what does that actually look like? So remember, these devices we buy these off the shelf. They're not jailbroken, they're not rooted, we don't take them apart and solder anything. These are all just directly from the manufacturer. If you have devices as a partner that you need to put in the cloud, or your customer has devices that they want to put in the cloud, we can certainly do that, or we can get them right from the manufacturer and do it as well. So whatever's convenient or necessary. The devices are connected to what we call an HSS or a handset server. Right? So the handset server actually manages all the device connectivity. All right. and it's connected through what we call a DDM, or device docking module, via USB. So all this video streaming and things that you see on your browser when you open up Perfecto and you're clicking on the device and you can see the device and do what you need to do, is all through that USB. That's how you're getting that streaming video. All right. The MCM is really the brains of the whole operation, the mobile cloud manager. And what that does is that manages the entire handset server, or it manages all the connectivity, right? And that MCM actually does a number of different things. As you can see here, it serves clients, so that section where it says serving clients, UI, Selenium, API, and UFP. It's going to help with executing, your scripts, storing the reports, being able to access things at a later time, setting up users and groups and the permissions and things like that. It all helps with that. I mentioned script execution, device management, and then storing all your apps, your media, reporting. Everything that you do is through the MCM. So the MCM is definitely the brains of the operation and kind of controls everything that goes on. And then finally at the bottom, as I mentioned, you receive that digital video to your browser. And what ends up happening is we have some ports and protocols and things that we actually set up in order to stream that video. There's certain ports that need to be opened up in order, to be able to see the video in your browser. It's really normally a very simple operation to be able to do that. If for some reason those ports can't be opened, there's some other ports and things that we can actually do in order for you to be able to see the video. All right, so that's a little bit about the setup and actually what some of the items are named, just so you can kind of see how it's put together. Right, so this is actually a picture of the devices and the setup inside of one of our data centers. So you notice here that the devices are connected directly by USB, and they're connected to those device docking modules that are right next to them. And then behind there, with all those wires plugged in, that's where you're going to have your handset server and your MCM and all that. They are in the big rack inside of our data center, which I actually have a picture of as well. But this is what they look like, and they're segregated. Nobody is able to, from another company, is able to see those devices or get in there or do anything with them. Everybody that has access to this from our network operations center and operations all, it's fingerprint entry and all kinds of different things. So these are very secure. As I mentioned, we have 14 data centers around the world. So again, just a quick notice of where they're at. I talked about our main one is actually near Wakefield, Massachusetts, or Boston, and our backup disaster recovery center for North America is out in Arizona. So there's one in India as well. It's in Gujarat, India. As I mentioned, we've also got one in China and Australia, in that part of the world as well. So, and we can put devices in any of those locations when needed. So if you take a look at this screenshot, in the upper left-hand corner, that's actually a Wi-Fi repeater. So those are put inside of our data centers, and that's going to help obviously with the Wi-Fi and being able to have very strong Wi-Fi for you to be able to work with that on your devices. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see a picture inside the data center. So those are those racks that we were just showing you where the devices were inside of. That's what they actually look like. And you'll see that those Wi-Fi repeaters are up on top of those racks as well, so you can see where those are pointed at towards the devices. The bottom left-hand side is an FCC-approved Federal Communications Commission for the United States approved cell tower repeater. So those are going to be the various cell tower repeaters for whatever carrier that is needed. So we're able to have the various those items in for your devices as well. Bottom right is a GPS signal repeater, so we're able to do mock GPS location injection. So if your device isn't really in China or really in India, and you needed to think it's in China or India for location-based type of testing, we have these GPS signal repeaters in our data centers, and that we can set up to have the devices think they're in a certain location. And then in the middle part there is a picture of one of our network operations centers. This happens to be in Wakefield, Massachusetts. And you'll notice that there's a number of people on staff that are looking at various video screens to make sure the devices are running. There's no outages or no issues. And they also help with if there's any tickets or issues that end up happening, that they can help out as well. Talked about being secure and not, devices just can't be accessed by anybody. So you notice we have fingerprint readers. There are cameras inside of the data centers as well. And then on the bottom right-hand side, you'll notice that there are huge air conditioning units and chillers and coolers on top of the roof in order to make sure that all the devices stay nice and cool and all the equipment and everything like that. So it is a pretty big operation to put all this together, especially to be able to house all these devices and to be able to have them up and running with the various end user conditions that we talked about, and keeping them safe and secure so that you and your customers have access to them 24/7. It's very important. All right, so let's take a few minutes to actually look at the Perfecto solution. So what I want to show you here is, especially if you haven't seen this before, is to be able to understand a couple of things that it can do. And as Lizzie mentioned at the beginning of this, we're going to have more tech talks and deep dives on the solution itself. So we're going to, in future weeks, we're going to look at, Selenium and Appium, and we're going to look at Perfecto automation and things actually in action. So we're going to show you some scripts and it's running. But what I wanted to do today, just from a kind of an introductory thing, is to be able to just show you sort of what it looks like. So this is actually logged into the partners cloud. So you'll see up here it's partners, perfectomobile.com. This happens to be this partners cloud. And these are various devices in here. So again, these are real devices. So I have an Apple iPhone 6s, a Galaxy S6, a couple of desktops, one with Windows 7 IE 10 and one with Windows 8.1 Chrome 48. Again, you can put different combinations in here, but the main thing to kind of mention here is that we have a number of different widgets and things that you can do. So you can always click on the device and drag and, open an application and things like that, but we also offer these widgets that allow you to do things very quickly. So for example, if I click this one that says SMS here, or one that says call, it'll actually SMS message you or call you from the cloud, and it'll actually do that on the device. So again, if you need to do interrupt testing, or you need to see what happens if you have your app open and a call or a text message comes in, you can do that from a manual testing perspective, right? So other things that you can do is, if your device got locked up, for example, you could power cycle, recover to see if you needed to restart it. Down at the bottom, there's a set location. So again, if you need to set the location for a longitude, latitude, or a specific country or location, you can do that. You can transfer files. You can start and stop applications. If you want to record your session, you can do that and share with other people. So again, the nice part is you have the ability to do this all in one cloud. So whether it's your mobile devices, your desktop browsers, you want to make sure that a certain function and flow and process is working. From a manual perspective, you're able to do that all in one location. You can install your apps and do everything that you want to do on these devices, and then do your testing, and everything's right here. You can take snapshots and share that out with your team. All right. This is Perfecto automation. So this is the built-in automation. So this is just kind of showing you the IDE or the canvas, what the script looks like. So you'll notice on the left-hand side here, we've got a number, again, of automation widgets that allow you to do things very quickly. So, for example, to be able to open up your device, we can just click this open button, and you just select what device you want from whatever cloud you're connected to. You've got the ability to, if you're working from an automation perspective, building your script, we have an object spy built in. It's going to allow you to interact with objects and to be able to do things with them. So, clicking on things and filling in text fields and stuff like that. If you want to use text or image, either validation, or you want to be able to click on a piece of text or something like that, we have the ability to actually do that with these widgets here as well. And then we also have a widget to operate the mobile web, to be able to open it up and go to different URLs and things like that. So as you do things on the device, you'll notice here in this middle area that the script ends up being built. So you'll notice what happened here is you were able to select the device, and again, you can select it by the operating system, the Android or iOS, or there's different categories and things that you can do to be able to do that. So the script is basically selecting device, opening it up, going to the home screen, so clicking the home button, for example, opening up a specific browser URL, and then making sure that a text checkpoint, make sure a certain piece of text or something shows on the screen. It will validate if it's good to go or not, and then close the device. And then all these scripts can be saved using this file. It's got an area to save your scripts and to be able to reopen them and reuse them in a repository on the cloud, so you don't have to worry about storage or anything, and the cloud stores all the files and everything for you. Over on the right-hand side here, you'll see the devices open, and then you also see the thing for like an app, for example, an app list. So, if you're downloading apps, internally, you have an internal app store, or your customer does, or, from the Play Store or the Apple Store or whatever, you're able to kind of manage those. You're able to start and stop apps. Again, the Perfecto allows you to have system-level control of these devices, meaning you're not just stuck with one application in your sandbox, so you can't do anything else. If you have multiple apps open, you want to do all this interoperability testing or SMS and all these different pieces, you're able to do that because we have system-level control. You're like an admin on there, so you don't have to worry about not being able to test and do things on the device like in the real world. The other thing I wanted to show you kind of in automation here and just a list of all the things that you can do. So these are a lot of different functions and things that we've built out that automatically allow you to just point and click to be able to do things. So for example, up here in the top, install an application. If I want to install an application as part of my script, I can just double click this or drag this into my IDE canvas here in the middle. And then what will happen is when I put that in there, I'll just put the name of the application in there, or whatever I need to whatever I want to open or work on. If I want to start an app, if I want to open a browser or navigate to a URL or whatever the case may be, all these functions are able to be just dragged into this canvas in this IDE here, and you can build out your entire script. So your location, if you want to get your device log, if you want to inject audio or whatever the case may be, all that is very easily plugged in here and saved as part of your automation script. And then one of the things, for example, we offer is what we call device vitals. So the device vitals are going to allow you to measure things like how is the CPU percentage overall, or how is the user percentage, or how is the bandwidth of what it is I'm working on from, my bytes in and bytes out and things like that. So this is going to allow you to better understand, when things are going on with your device, with your application, when things are running, how is that impacting the user experience, and you're able to actually measure these and save these out and then use them at a later time. So we provide a lot of ability, again, to do those real end user conditions to set that location. We offer performance testing to be able to figure out how long does it take a page to load, or as you see here with the device vitals, to be able to understand how applications and things are impacting your device and what's going on in the background. So, that's what we kind of want to talk about, what we've been talking about today is that real user experience, being able to deliver those 5-star apps out to your customers, and then taking the Perfecto solution and then being able to use it from a manual perspective, an automation perspective, talk about performance testing, and also from monitoring and production to be able to understand, how those pages are loading and how things actually look. Taking that information and utilizing that with your customers and through the Perfecto solution to deliver those great applications. So with that, take a few minutes to do a Q&A. I'm sure there's a couple questions out there. So maybe we can take a look at that.